claims everything is being expected to be straight. It's like it seems John Wayne.
It's called James. I host this news every morning.
And the Golden Angel Award ceremony.
Hello, my dear friends, my lovely audiences. Welcome to the East-West show. Jack Chow is your host for this so many years, especially ever since the breakout of the pandemic. We never missed a single moment to bring information to you for reference. Of course, we are only a team. We cannot isolate ourselves from our supporters. We have a bunch of supporters who love the community, who love what we do, and together we keep the show go on and on and on and on till now, this very moment. Today joining me is one of the big supporters of the show, and also a political commentator. He himself, for profession, is a director of film of Hollywood and a producer of films. So, Mr. Chris Nebe, welcome to the show again.
谢谢你，非常感谢。你好。
All right. The reason you're here today is that I feel very happy last show with you because I didn't end up disappointed. I ended up with lots of hopes. That's why I get you here again to stretch our discoveries so far. All right. What we're facing is kind of a mixture of everything. Like I said the other day at the other show, we're facing 4 blocks. Number one, somebody who was not supposed to die died. Right? Number two, because of that, there is protests and demonstrations. And number three, due to the protests and demonstrations, there is looting, melee, that kind of thing, right? Disaster, right? And now we're seeing even the 4th block. We see lots of topplings of the historical monument, including statues, right? And of course, they were not everyone a hero, but as a landmark, they are a trace of history, right? Okay, so with all happening, we mentioned the 4 blocks, added with 5 blocks all together. How do you see? What do you see as what we are seeing now? Some people say, not concludedly but suspiciously, that there must be some kind of a conspiracy. Do you agree with me, or do you echo with me?
You see, America is so torn apart and so troubled that the system, the people realize that the system is rigged, the government is corrupt, and we the people continue to waste their strength fighting each other, because that's what's now. And rather than standing united against the forces that control them. And yes, there may be a conspiracy. I do not really know. I have no proof, but you know, where there is smoke, there's usually fire. You see, the system is rigged, and because the government is corrupt, and because the people remain polarized and divided, the police state in the end will keep winning, and we the people will keep losing. Because abolishing, for example, there are big questions abolishing the police, which of course is absolutely ridiculous, because abolishing the police is not the answer. It will lead to outright anarchy, and which will give the police state and those law and order freaks all the more incentive they need to declare martial law. You know, because That's what they would like to do, because then everything would stop. And the looting and the violence are not the answer. And you mentioned earlier tearing down the statues of history is idiotic.
Yeah, you're right. And what's happening now, if we just stop there by looting, by rioting, with the melee as is, there was not that much concern. Because in a society, there are always good element and bad element.
Right.
The bad element, just like the cancer cells in your body, whenever given a right chance, they will pop out. Anyway,
Right.
What do worry me so much like hell is the symptoms I see to resemblance the Chinese Cultural Revolution, which I saw it, I was through with it, right, with my own eyes, with my own family. And I knew people that things were started exactly the same way as what we see now with the toppling of the monuments, of the statue, of the historical landmark. Do you find the same concern?
Yes, I think that is very wrong. But that shows you, unfortunately, how confused the people are, and because they don't even know the history, and history needs to be respected. You see, it would be the same, for example, let's go to Germany. It would be the same if we would destroy Dachau, Auschwitz, and other concentration camps.
Exactly. Yeah.
We have kept these concentration camps intact and use them as a museum for the people to remember one of the most ugly parts of German history.
As education for our young
Exactly.
people to learn.
And you see, it's very essential that that they don't tear down, because the mob doesn't care. And that comes the moment where I am wondering that this is just a spontaneous reaction to the killing of George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter, or is it they honestly believe that these people who are demonstrating honestly believe that they're fighting racial injustice and police brutality? Because the powers that be would use the protest movement to actually, as a perfect vehicle to affect dramatic social changes that only serve the interest of the elite, the people they control. And that's what's happening, and that could happen. It is not happening yet, but it could happen.
I agree. But before we go that deep, we will probably bring our audiences what had happened in China with the Cultural Revolution, right? Lots of people, of course, I say people of my age, they did witness everything, but they are easy to forget. They are too easy to forget, right? They are turning them around to shout the same slogans as they did in their teenage or years, which is not my problem, but I feel sorry for them. And there are young people who only learned from the parents, like my age, tell them what had happened, tell them how important it is to prevent things from happening. And for the people who were born even after the 80s, after the 90s, after 2000, the millennium, right, the millennials, they do not even know a thing about it, right? I tell you, I can be responsibly telling you that's exactly the beginning of the Cultural Revolution now. Right? Now, those days in China, if you say one thing wrong on the street, you would end up killed. Right? The same thing here. They say Black Lives Matter. If you go to the demonstrators or looters or whoever, you see something opposite. Do you get killed? You get killed. I know for sure you get killed. Right? And then they started to turn down statues, monuments, historical landmarks, temples, because they represent the Confucius society. Of course. That's the Confucianism, right? That's history. We were all growing out from history. Why we get problems looking back at our history? Right? Give you an example, the statue of Robert Lee, General Lee of the South, right? Okay, shall we take a break? We come back for it? It looks that I have stretched a little bit. So stay with us.
It's called James. I host this news and reporting.
And the Golden Angel Award ceremony.
Hello, my dear friends, my lovely audiences. Welcome to the show, Jack Chow, on the East West Show with my friend, Mr. Chris Nebe. Mr. Chris Nebe is a gentleman of the old style who kind of like me emphasizing historical evidence every time when he works on a new project. Speaking of what we are seeing now, the toppling of so many statues, monuments, and the historical landmarks, and I feel such a fear in myself that I tell myself that a cultural revolution is happening again, right? So I was talking about the statue of Robert Lee, General Robert Lee. Let me tell you the way I understand why we had his statue. His statue is not only a symbol of himself, it's a symbol of the North and South War, which is our Civil War, which the war was the end, brought our nation to where we are now. However, as the winner, General Grant did not kill General Robert Lee, who was the loser, right? Of course, at the wartime, as war general representing the North on the federal level, his orders say, hey, execution. He could be executed, and together with his other officials. What he did, what General Grant did, was that, okay, I let you go, take off your uniform, drop down your key, take your man, go home. Do whatever you were doing at home. Now, what a statue of forgiveness, my dear friend Chris. So to me, it's a statue not only of Robert Lee, the statue of our time, of our system, our leaders, of our concept, of our value of what is winning.
Yes.
We win the war. We don't win your body.
Yeah, statue of humanity.
Yes, statue of humanity, statue of forgiveness. Chris, the other day when I heard that Robert Lee, General Robert Lee's statue was torn down, I felt so bad.
I agree with you.
They're so bad. Sorry. So what's your take of the statue itself as a symbolism of what?
Yeah, it's a symbol of humanity and its history. You know, you cannot, by doing this, you cannot erase history. And these monuments are there to remind you of history, and probably, which of course we humans are not very good at, we don't have or learn the lessons of history. And this is all these statues are attempts of, you know, drawing ourselves to think about it. It's not, you know, everything has two sides, and there's also a third side usually. And I find it very sad that this is happening in America, and I totally object to this.
Okay. Speaking of that one, before that Robert Lee monument and statue toppling, there was the toppling of Christopher Columbus,
Yeah.
right? And it was only a week ago, 2 weeks ago, we talked about Christopher Columbus and his time, about the part of the indigenous killing, right? So what does the statue of Christopher Columbus to you mean to you?
To me, it means an adventurer, a seafarer, an explorer who succeeded in creating a new vision of the world. And he is not responsible for what happened afterwards. So it's ridiculous to put this all in one box. And I mean, Christopher Columbus is one of history's most well-known people. And he, for certain, has a lot of balls because he was traveling with his ship into the unknown, because at that time they really thought that somewhere the ocean just goes down and the ship will go down like a cliff and everybody will be killed.
Let me say something. Correct me if wrong. All right. To me, the statue of Christopher Columbus just a landmark of our time, our history. In history, there is a conquering of land. In 1492, Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue and discovered the land,
world. Yeah.
the North American land, and later South American land. That part.
Yeah.
As to Christopher Columbus, is he a good guy or bad guy? Is he good tempered or bad tempers? Does he abuse alcohol? Those are not questions.
No.
And even that things after, I was wondering if he was involved directly in the killing.
No.
He was not.
No.
Right? So why people shift their hate to a statue, to a landmark our own history? Would it be good to have it stand there to tell our children, look at this guy. It was this guy in so many years ago discovered the land. Something like that.
Yeah, you see, because the reason is, because in this country right now, there is no unifying voice. Rather than objecting like the people in charge do, objecting to it, they're not seeing it, they see it as vandalism, but they should give hope and say this is wrong because we are not like this. And you see, the thing is that unfortunately the leadership, I'm referring, for example, if you permit me, I usually don't do that, to the rally in Tulsa of Trump. The whole time he was talking about this and this and this and that and this. He never said, he never invited the people to join him in trying to fix what is wrong. He always accused everybody of something being wrong, but he never asked the people to join him, because it is a tragedy that right now the already fragile economic situation of America before, now through the virus pandemic, has created a complete destruction.
I totally agree with you. I really, as a matter of fact, admire your analysis.
Thank you.
Look at the two parties.
Yeah.
Either the party on the left, Democrat, or the party on the right, the Republicans. Neither of them sit down, say, hey, let's check what we have been doing wrong.
That's it.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's check what we have been doing wrong. And then we find out as a conclusion, we send it to the opposite party. And the opposite party does the same thing. Hey, Republicans, sit down here. Let's check what we have been doing wrong.
Right,
How come? How come we see what you see now?
Yeah. It's only accusing each other.
Matter of fact, we see nothing of that nature. We see fingers pointing at each other. You, like that. And now, with the election coming in, with the pandemic already hitting, everybody seems to be lost. However, I want to point out something very, very serious, very dangerous. That is, they started with the Christopher Columbus, right? And then they moved to Robert Lee. And then they moved to all the Confederation official whatsoever, or historical characters whatsoever. Have you heard they are talking about our founding father, George Washington, and Adam
They did.
Jefferson? Yes.
Yeah, they did already take them down.
Yeah. And then what would be the next? Our Constitution.
Yeah.
And our foundation is being shaken.
See, here we come to this point again that because you see, the parties are just what you see and what you hear. But they're not really the power brokers. The power brokers and the elite are behind. So who would actually, for example, this idea of defunding the police is totally moronic, because who would actually profit from defunding the police? Certainly the people of color would not benefit, because they, in their fractured neighborhoods, in rundown inner cities, need more security than, and not less.
Mm-hmm.
The scale of coordination of the demonstration suggests that there is deep state elements are probably pulling the strings behind the scenes.
Let's take a moment out.
Mhm.
Come back. We'll continue.
Yeah.
We probably shall put all the pieces together. All right. We'll be right back, my dear friends.
Everything continue to work on it now.
My name is Paul James. I host the English News Report.
And the Golden Angel Award ceremony.
My dear friends, lovely audiences, welcome back to the show. My dear fellow Americans, I really want to say something from bottom of my heart to share with you my concern about what's happening, what we see now. And I would, the next step, to find out why we see what we see. Together with me is my good friend, Mr. Chris Nebe. Politically, he is my supporter, a friend, and to the show, of course, he is also my supporter and friend. Because to him, politics is the peace, all right? And I like the concept of taking peace as our number one politics, all right? Back to the point, we were talking about they were attacking the statue of George Washington and Tom Jefferson, right? So those are our founding fathers. My concern is that when I saw in China, when they started with a few temples, and then with the Confucius statue, and then with everything, right? And I recall in my house, my father was a collector, some kind of collector of the antiques. He had two landscape hanging pieces of the Song dynasty. Before revolution, my father took me to, at that time I was learning calligraphy, right? Take it to somewhere, authority, to have it authenticated, right? And they say there's no price of it. You want to donate, you will donate with your rest of your life free of money. You don't have to worry about money. That's it. That's the price. And my father didn't do it and take it back. There came the revolution. They were torn down and burned. In 2 minutes, the whole thing burned. Now, when they attack your culture, your tradition, your history, in a way like that, the nation is dead. The country is dead. The culture is dead. I saw that happening once in my childhood with my eyes, now forcing me to see it once again in the country I chose to adopt as my fatherland. You tell me how much it hurt me, my friend. That's exactly what's happening now.
Yeah, it may be about, this whole thing may be the puppet masters may be pulling the strings to get regime change, internal destabilization, and then the puppet masters can declare martial law and complete control of we the people.
And there's no argument you can do with the martial law.
Exactly.
Martial law is martial law, right?
And because the white elitist capitalist systems may want to push the working class even lower into dependent servitude. The aim is always about power, and this would be a very clever way to do that, because in America it always pays to follow the money. And if you want to find out the truth, follow the money. For example, I have heard that at the right places there were pallets loaded with new bricks to help, because there are no stones available on the street, to break the windows of the shop for the looters. And these were conveniently placed at the right location, just the right location. Who did that? Who put them there? Then I heard that trash cans filled with frozen water bottles and other debris conveniently located also at the places where violent protests did erupt.
For handy use.
Yeah. So who did that?
And $200. Remember, Joe Garner says $200 a day, and $15-20 per hour
right.
pay.
I was coming.
And
to
who
this,
puts up the money?
Yeah, and on social media, there were supposedly sites offering a couple of $100 to protesters to join the protest. There are buses which transport protesters conveniently from one to the other place to protest. So there is an organization. I mean, it's not that easy to get thousands of people on the street. So the question is, who is behind this? Mm-hmm. Whose interest is it?
I'll give you another hint.
Yeah.
Right. Or tip. Right. This morning when I was sorting the news, every morning I sort the news.
Same as I
for
do.
my yeah. I came across one piece which is very short, talking about Raleigh, North Carolina. Mm-hmm. In Raleigh, North Carolina, last Monday, which is yesterday, they toppled down several of the statues.
Yeah.
All right. And when asked, the Democratic governor says in a quote, I don't have the quote right now, but the news has a quote say, if I do not support them, the right that is related, that it lead to, may be even more dangerous, something like that.
Yeah.
However, as a sideline, a note, there's a side note, says 2015, that state has made a law that toppling down or turning down of any historical constructions, including statues, has to be proven by federal historical whatever committee. Right? If the governor had to protect the statue, he would just martial law it by applying the law of 2015. But in this case, he instead, he made it an excuse to himself. If I do not support him, I may see more severe consequences. And the news, it says in the very beginning, the Democratic governor. So, could that be a hint
Yes.
of
You
who's
see,
supporting what?
To me, the problem seems that there is no voice who is talking reason. Like you mentioned, peace or togetherness or reason. It's all you or me, you or me. It's not. It's finger pointing. There's nobody unifying. Instead of talking, and that is the problem. And you know why? Because there's no leadership. Because neither actually, let's face it, neither Trump nor Biden are electable. There's no unifying leader here who says, look, it's okay what happened so far, let's forget about it, let's sit together and try to change. Because it's not only Black Lives Matter, it is a social problem in this country because it is racial, because the country is shifting from being a white controlled people.
As a German,
Yeah.
you are not unfamiliar with the social Darwinism,
Right. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, do you find or smell the same taste of the social Darwinism
Yes.
as back
that
then?
is the problem. You see.
Right now?
You see, and this is for this. A similar situation made Hitler come to power.
Exactly.
A similar
Exactly.
situation. But he was the wrong person. But you see, if you would have the right person now to come and unify the country, but the politicians, the corrupt politicians, are further
Yes. Exactly. The reason I mentioned social Darwinism
Yes.
is exactly because I want to ask my second question: how Adolf Hitler was voted?
Because of that. Because he.
All right.
And the
He
people
did not
didn't-
just rush into office, were rebels, and they seized the power whatsoever, declared king,
There
right?
was a lot
and
of-
by democratic voting.
Yes, but he prepared the groundwork was also. See,
Now, how do you know now we are not seeing preparation?
you see, there is a very good rule usually used: divide and rule. That's what usually people do.
You divide,
And
you
rule. However, there are moments where divide and rule doesn't work. Where only thing works, unite and rule. And this in Germany, they use divide and rule, and as a gift, they got Hitler. Here, I wonder what gift they're going to get, because here they are still working very feverishly on divide and rule.
Okay, on the surface, as a slogan, divide and rule
Yeah.
is not wrong. In practice, in particular, at a certain moment, though,
Yeah.
for example, back in Hitler's day, they unite for the vote to make Hitler win, and he did win. Now the same thing we see. Same thing we see. Are you saying those people on the streets are not united?
No.
They are united.
Yeah, but they are only one portion. There's a lot of silent majority in this country who doesn't go on the street and who really doesn't want to have any change. Remember this. This is all young people who it's usually the young people who move history forward. Not the old guys, because the old guys are comfortable and don't want change. And want the status quo because this is what they're accustomed to. So here, but what this country needs, because this country is very special. You see, the country represents, there's no country in the world like America, because America is like a melting pot.
Let's take a little moment
Yeah.
out. We come back and continue to find out more. If we can stack up all those questions, probably the answer is right beneath it. Right. We'll be right back, my dear friends. Stay with us.
Everything. We have to continue to work on it now.
My name is Paul James. I host the news every morning.
And a Golden Angel Award ceremony.
Hello, dear folks, my lovely audiences, brothers, sisters, welcome back. My dear fellow Americans, we are really at a critical moment. When I say critical, I'm not saying the pandemic, how serious that is, only. I'm also not only also talking about what we see on the street. I am especially emphasizing on one fact that we are seeing almost the start as the Chinese Revolution. How much are you familiar with the French Revolution?
Same thing. I mean, the people were fed up to be exploited, and all of a sudden it started, and they chopped off the heads of those who had been ruling them. Very simple. Now, we will not chop off any heads now, but it's always the same. You see, the people, we the people are actually a herd of obedient sheep, because it's very interesting. When you see a herd of sheep, there's always one sheep who is the leader. Now, who chose it? It must be that natural leadership without the animals make this one sheep that they all follow it. The sheep goes there, the whole herd goes there. None of them goes in another direction. So people are very much like this. And people are comfortable with their situations as long as they have their basic needs filled.
By nature, we human
Yeah,
are gregarious.
yeah,
Gregarious means that term that a creature choose to live, in which they live in groups.
yeah.
We human race are like those characters. We're gregarious. We are together. And together, we adore to have a king
Yeah.
to rule over us.
Yeah.
And it was the king himself to make the hierarchy, right? From that point down, that much happens much later. Right now, you're talking about a bunch of animals following one king, right? That's what we see now. That's what
No,
we see-
there
we see
is
now.
no king right now.
No. I mean the king concept.
Yes. But this herd instinct is, we are all animals, human beings, all the same. We all
Yeah.
have the same. It's no
Well, no
different.
problem.
It's
You would
just
go
a
ahead and call me
higher-
animals. I'm an animal.
Yeah,
Yes.
a higher type of animal. But so you see, and the problem America faces at this moment is, number one, it's very divided, because the fact is that the white leadership who ruled this country since the beginning is now getting into the minority because of the multicultural immigration which has happened. And it's not only black people, it's not only brown people, it's Asians, and all of them came here, and now they're getting into politics. Before there wasn't, because now they're getting into politics, and the country is divided. And therefore, at this moment, you have these two things. You have the pandemic, which is where there seems to be no future, and you have the economic disaster, which is resulting of the epidemic, and you do not have, and the people are clueless, and you don't have any leadership. And there's no unified leadership. The two quote-unquote leaders, Biden and Trump, are only busy pointing at each other. And there is no unifying leadership which leaves the you and me out, but talks us. Tomorrow you have a leader like this, he'll win the election hands down. But there's nobody in sight. There's nobody there.
All right. A while ago, we were talking about, as a confirmation or a conclusion, we believe there is something behind it.
Yeah.
And we decided to call it conspiracy. Am I
Right.
right? Now, question is to find out who is behind it. In order to find out who's behind it, I want to use a quote from him that the money follow the money. Number one. And then second thing is that, that simple look at who will benefit from the situation is probably the one behind it. Am I right?
Yes.
Right. Will Donald Trump benefit from the looting, rioting situation?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, who else will benefit from it?
Nobody, because the problem seems here, you see, that on the surface, and that's why I cannot point, oh, here are the conspirators. On the surface, nobody seems to be profiting, because a lot of people may not just want to go and vote at all, because they will say, look. But at the moment, it would be to me that the Democrats would profit from this because they could blame everything, because since it seems to be a blaming game, so they could blame everything on Trump.
On
the Republicans.
I understand. I have this little confusion bothering me for so many years. So, Black Lives Matter is not a new slogan.
No.
It's a slogan that goes back all the way to Ferguson. Remember?
Yeah, even further.
Michael Brown, or
It
even
goes
before.
to Martin Luther
even
King
before.
and beyond.
Yeah. Black Lives Matter, BLM, right? So, if we do have a discrimination of the black in the country as a culture, though, how come Barack Obama became president of the United States for even not one term, but 2 terms?
Yeah, that's
It's very, very,
But you see,
very
this,
brain burning.
but you see, this is the beauty of America. It is a country which is totally all the time experimenting. And all the time trying, it's a mass of humanity trying to find the right way. Because, I mean, whatever you may say about racism and whatever one may say about all these things, American exceptionalism,
I understand.
hegemony.
I understand.
But that's the beauty, finding new
I
ways.
use this example only to make one point, right? If you say discrimination is the prevailing culture of the United States, how come Obama,
Right.
Barack will be voted and won twice?
You're right, but you see, that proves the great thing about America, that it's experimenting. And while there is discrimination,
In other words, can we conclude the discrimination, quote unquote, was not that strong?
right,
It might be somewhere, somehow existing, but as a prevailing culture, not that strong. However, these movements right now we see have enlarged it,
Right.
have stretched it,
and blown it out of proportion.
blown it for out of proportion for their political gains.
Right.
So it looks that we find the answer.
Yeah.
Do you think so?
Yeah, but we are still unable to pinpoint the real people who behind it, because there are people who are directing this.
Oh yeah, sure, okay.
And that
That
I don't
belongs
know
to-
who it is, and we will never find out, because you see, those we see are not the ones who rule.
That belongs to the Department of Justice, to find out who each of them were. However, what we are here talking about, the trend is to enlarge, to boost up the fun conflicts people have, especially with a diverse society, when people are staying together, like so diverse, like salad, right? They will conflict. They will have some conflict one way or the other. However, as a mainstream culture, this country is not that rotten.
No, and America may come out better than it was before
All right.
out of this crisis. We don't
If
know.
that
but
if that happens though, I would say right now we need a strong leader.
and
We need a strong and a powerful leader. Instead of shrinking down to a point to capitulate to the rise to whatsoever, we want to make it strong. And somewhere, somehow, what is necessary, go ahead and martial law it. And then add up some of the money instead of, on the contrary, like Mayor Garcetti says, let's take $150 million of LAPD. A lot of people, such as New York, they're following that, right? Okay, my dear friend, my lovely audiences, I truly, really, absolutely love this kind of conversation. It's a intelligence talk. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your
Thank
you for your depth in understanding American culture and the current society. Of course, to me myself, I thank to my own experiences of the Cultural Revolution, which scared me so much. I mean, the scaredness right now is working because it's pushing me, say, Jack, go ahead, say something about Cultural Revolution. Go ahead, say something to prevent it from happening again. Right? So altogether, we thank you very much for watching, my dear friend, my lovely audiences, and to Chris, thank you very much for being with me.
Bokachi, thank you.
I still have to need you Monday, on Wednesday.
Good.
We'll continue with the other part.
Yeah.
All right? Thank you very much. Okay, my dear friend, see you again.